Welcome back to the series where I try to fix Pokemon gym leaders and Elite Four members that are particularly lacking in difficulty. This time we'll be taking a look at the Kalos Elite Four. And while I did roast the gym leaders for being some of the worst in the series, the Elite Four in X and Y are really not that bad. For example, take a look at Seabold's Gyarados. This moveset is absolutely cracked. But that being said, these guys are not perfect. Similar to the Gen 5 Elite Four teams, each member only has 4 Mons, and to make matters worse, the champion is the only one that has a Mega. So I'll be remedying this by giving each member a new Pokemon and a Mega, as well as repairing any movesets or abilities in the process. The other aspect that this league copies from the Unnovan League is that you can battle these guys in any order, meaning their levels are all identical too. So here, I think we'll just go by the order in Bulbapedia, and go ahead and get started with Malva, the Fire-type Master, and ex-Team Flare admin. There's no way she's allowed to be here. I'm not the only one that's thinking that, right? I mean, by this point in the game, Lysander would have already been taken care of. But anyways, Malva's team is already looking pretty clean. I mean, we got that normal and ghost pivot potential with the crazy damage output from Talonflame in the back. But I think there's room for some improvement in the details here. Taking a closer look with Pyroar at level 63 with Unnerve and the moves Hyper Voice, Flamethrower, Wild Charge, and Sunny Day. Game Freak has done a great job here of incorporating some good coverage in these teams. And even though Wild Charge is a physical move, it's definitely nothing to scoff at here. So I think the only thing I'd change is adding Sunny Day for the boosted fire type damage, as well as replacing Rivalry with Unnerve to prevent any Lumberries from healing off any potential burns from Flamethrower. And plus, Rivalry always ends up biting me in the butt and being detrimental rather than positive, as it makes moves do less damage if the opponent is the opposite gender. Next up is Torkoal at level 63 with White Smoke and the moves Shell Smash, Earthquake, Rock Slide, and Flamethrower. This guy's receiving one of the bigger upgrades of the video, as Shell Smash makes for a fantastic setup move to take advantage of those great coverage moves. I also swapped Stone Edge out for Rock Slide here, as I'm a big fan of accuracy. I'd much rather have a higher chance of doing any damage at all than risking doing no damage for a slight boost in base power. And plus, there's always a chance for a cheeky crit. Malva will then follow that up with her Chandelure at level 63 with Flame Body and the moves Flamethrower, Shadow Ball, Confuse Ray, and Energy Ball, making the swap from Confide to Energy Ball the only change here, as it provides excellent coverage into any potential water or rock types trying to sweep through the team. And while Confide is great in that it will always hit that special attack drop, it doesn't really seem like it'll ever be the best option for Malva to use at like any point, making it an easy move to drop here. Following the Raging Chandelier is Malva's new addition in Houndoom at level 63 with Early Bird and the moves Sunny Day, Dark Pulse, Flamethrower, and Thunderfang for that added coverage. This pick acts as a perfect way to blend her Elite Four side in with her Team Flare side, as a lot of the Flare admins used a Houndoom. So in order to distinguish her from those meddling admins, she'll be getting the Houndoomite, making the Mega Evolution possible, and changing Houndoom's ability to solar power, hence the inclusion of Sunny Day, just in case Pyroars didn't last long enough. And finally, after dealing with a menacing Mega, the player will have to face down Malva's ace, which is Talonflame at level 65 with Gale Wings and the moves Acrobatics, Steel Wing, Flare Blitz, and Roost for recovery. Total creations! Isn't Gale Wings Talonflame's hidden ability? Why yes, Youngster Joey. Hey. Thank you for pointing that out. Oh. Since these guys are the cream of the crop of trainers in the region, I would think that they'd try to go for hidden abilities where they can. So I'm going to allow one Pokemon per team to receive one if it makes sense to do so. Oh, okay. That kind of makes sense. And with Gale Wings still being fully attacked in Gen 6, Talonflame will now be a monster, rocking priority 110 base power acrobatics off rip. And with the addition of Roost to heal off any damage from Flare Blitz or the opponent, this bird will be hard to ground. And there you have it, Malva's new and improved team. We've done a lot to boost the movesets of some Pokemon that were lacking some of that secret sauce. And for the items, I'm still thinking that giving one additional item on top of the Mega is just enough. So I'll obviously be throwing a White Herb onto the Torkoal to get rid of those defense drops from Shell Smash, making it an even more unstoppable force. Next up is the Water-type Master, Seabold. And I gotta be honest, boost. His team is by far the best designed out of the whole league. There's a lot here to give props to Game Freak about, but there are a few patches I could apply here. So let's go ahead and get started with Clawitzer, who I'm giving the first official O-Creation seal of approval. I mean, you got Clawitzer using 4 different moves that get a Mega Launcher boost out of the gate. No notes, Game Freak. But next out is Seabold's new addition in Lantern at level 63 with Volt Absorb and the moves Scald, Volt Switch, Ice Beam, and Thunder Wave. The only thing I could see to make this team even more cracked is giving it a Volt Absorb Lantern that can switch into any potential electric type moves and nerf the opponent with Thunder Wave before switching back out again and letting the rest of the team wreak havoc. Up next is Seabold's Starmie, who again is receiving an O-Creation seal of approval. It gets fairy coverage and Dazzling Gleam and Light Screen for any potential shutdowns on sweeps, as it's got a high chance of outspeeding the opponent. Seabold then follows that up with his Gyarados, who, while isn't receiving any updates in the move department, as Earthquake and Ice Fang are pretty phenomenal on top of the D-Dance setup, is going to be receiving a Gyarados, meaning its ability and type will change to reflect that. But O-Creation? I know, youngster Joey, I got you covered. You obviously didn't read the copy of the script I gave you. Wait, what? Why is this in the script? Anyways, yes, Lysander does use Mega Gyarados, but does he need to? With Blastoise and Gyarados being the only 2 water-type Megas in X and Y, I think giving him a Blastoise somewhat goes against the usual style that Game Freak goes for, especially when the professor is seen using the trio later in the game. I know Seabold's got one in the anime, but I think giving him a starter just really doesn't make a lot of sense here. So, Lysander, your Gyarados has got to go. And for now, I suggest Mega Aggron as the replacement. And if you want to see a video where I cover the evil teams and upgrade the rest of Lysander's team, let me know in the comments below. Oh, and while you're down there, you could do me a favor and hit that sub button if you're liking the video so far. After dealing with Seabold's new Mega, he'll send out his ace, Barbarical. And although its moveset does seem a little lackluster, I think I know how to patch it up a bit. And that's by giving it a Wide Lens to boost the accuracy of both Cross Chop and Stone Edge. Seeing as a fighting type move here really makes for some decent coverage, and Stone Edge being a great use of the Tough Claws and Stab boost, I think the Wide Lens does a great job at making these moves even better here. And yeah, I'm sure I'll be hearing about it in the comments, but I genuinely think that's all Seabold needs. Wickstrom, on the other hand, deserves a bit more than that though. I do love the Klefki lead, and he's definitely got some decent type diversity, but I think I can give him a bit more of an edge here. So starting out with Klefki at level 63 with Prankster in the moves Dazzling Gleam, Flash Cannon, Thunder Wave, and Spikes. While Torment can keep the player on their toes, I think getting a priority Thunder Wave off helps immediately nerf whatever the player brings in first, while also hopefully setting up those spikes as well. Next up, Wickstrom will send out his Probopass at level 63 with Sturdy in the moves Earth Power, Power Gem, Volt Switch, and Flash Cannon. Listen, I know Probopass is a silly mon that not a lot of people enjoy, but I think it's a great pick that doesn't usually get a ton of love, so it's staying. The idea here is that Probopass can at the very least get off one move with Sturdy, and slow Volt Switch is always a great thing to add on to a Pokemon like this, as it can easily throw sweeping plans off balance. Next up, Wickstrom will be sending out his new addition in Skarmory at level 63 with Sturdy and the moves Steel Wing, Roost, Whirlwind, and Brave Bird. A good flying type for ground immunity is exactly the kind of mon that Wickstrom is looking for. And with the high damaging move like Brave Bird and Roost for healing off the self-inflicting damage, it'll be tough to take out. Whirlwind is also making an appearance to help some of that switch damage from spikes that Klefki set up earlier. Wickstrom will then follow it up with his Scizor at level 63 with Technician and the moves Bullet Punch, X-Scissor, Swords Dance, and Aerial Ace. With other team members having heavier steel type damaging moves, I figured taking Iron Head off in favor of a setup move could be a fun switch up, especially with the addition of Aerial Ace, giving it another move to take advantage of the Technician boost. I did want to give this guy Bug Bite for more Technician shenanigans, but it's Aurus move tutor only. Here though, Scizor will be holding the Scissorite, meaning it's capable of Mega Evolution, making for a very difficult mon to overcome. Finally, Wickstrom will send out his ace, Aegislash, at level level 65 with stance change and the moves King's Shield, Shadow Sneak, Sacred Sword, and Iron Head. The only big change I made here was replacing the Ghost type move with the priority Shadow Sneak to keep the player on edge, as Aegislash is not usually known to outspeed many Pokemon, and that's Wickstrom. With the upgraded movesets and added Mega, I think this will make for a formidable match. And for the second item, I'm thinking we throw an air balloon onto Probopass to prevent it from getting annihilated by any ground type attacks turn 1. And on top of the sturdy ability, a once laughable typing of Rock Steel isn't looking like the absolute dumpster fire that it was off-rip. Next out is the final Elite Four member, Drasna. And for a dragon type leader in the games that introduced the fairy typing, it's definitely not a bad team. You got stab poison damage with Dragalge right at the beginning of the fight to throw any potential fairy type sweepers off balance, and a few great coverage moves in there too. But there is a bit more work that can be done here. So let's dive right in with Dragalge at level 63 with Dragon Pulse, Toxic Spikes, Sludge Wave, and Thunderbolt. Here, I'm thinking taking out Surf for Toxic Spikes could be a tricky play, but I think it could pay off, as the move has potential to create a lot of problems for the player down the line when trying to switch out Pokemon. I also noticed that Dragalge does get Sludge Wave, so I thought I might as well throw it on in replacement of Sludge Bomb, as it has slightly higher base power. Next up is a big change for Drasna, as her Druddigan is being replaced with Tyrantrum at level 63 with Strong Jaw and the moves Head Smash, Fire Fang, Dragon Claw, and Crunch. With Druddigan having a decent spotlight in Gen 5 alongside Iris's champion team, I think it's a fair choice for a replacement. And as for why Diantha's Tyrantrum is joining Drasna's team, you'll have to wait and see. But in the meantime, I've updated its moveset to include one of the Elemental Fangs to deal with any Ice-type counters, which also gets the Strong Jaw boost. Next up is Drasna's Altaria at level 63 with Natural Cure and the moves Moonblast, Dragon Pulse, Cotton Guard, and Roost. Altaria is definitely the weakest of the bunch, but I do have a soft spot for the bird. And with it not getting much attention since its inception in Gen 3, I think it's a great mon to bring here, even though it unfortunately doesn't get a Mega until Oris. I'm thinking Sing here would more than likely miss the player's Pokemon, so I think a way to heal up after tossing up a Cotton Guard or two would be a much better strategy. Next up is Drasna's new inclusion in Ampharos at level 63 with Static and the moves Dragon Pulse, Charge Beam, Rest, and Sleep Talk. But oh creations, that's not a dragon type Pokemon. Oh youngster Joey, you just haven't looked hard enough. Because this Ampharos is holding an Ampharosite, meaning it's now an electric dragon type. With this and Mega Garchomp being the only two dragon type Megas outside of Charizard X, I thought that making Ampharos the pick here would be the most entertaining. I'm not really sure if Game Freak would have chosen Ampharos here if each member had a Mega, since it doesn't start as a dragon type, but like Garchomp is Cynthia's thing, you know? And with a moveset capable of raising its special attack and consistent healing without needing to worry about dealing damage back to the player, this is going to be one tough cookie to crack. Finally, Drasna will send out her ace, Noivern, at level 65 with Frisk and the moves Hurricane, Dragon Pulse, Flamethrower, and Boom Burst. While Super Fang is a fun move as it guarantees a set amount of damage, I'm not entirely sure how the AI deals with it, as it was never used on my latest playthrough of X and Y, where I used only Gen 6 Pokemon. So here, I'm thinking giving it a high damaging normal type move works a little better, since there are a decent amount of types out there that resist some of its other moves. And that's Drasna's new and improved team. With Mega Ampharos being a surprise pick for the players, it should throw them off guard a bit, as it provides for some great coverage for any potential water types that have ice type moves. And for the second item, I think giving Dragalge the Black Sludge works wonders to keep it alive for longer, as it functions as a leftovers for poison type Pokemon. But that's not the last trainer to face in the league, as up next, the player is now faced with the final challenge, Diantha, the Pokemon League champion. And her team has been a bit of a mystery to me, as her whole thing is being in contrast to Lysander in his quest for beauty in life. But I feel like some of her team members don't do a great job at doing so. And competitively, she's definitely not the worst champion out there. I mean, she's got to be at least better than Guido, right? You've got like great coverage moves, Scream, cutscenes, and decent setup opportunities too. And that's not even mentioning her infamous ace in the hole, Mega Gardevoir. I do think Hawlucha is a weird pick that doesn't seem like Diantha would use, and I know it's a fun typing competitively, but it just doesn't really work here, especially with Corinna using it as her ace. It's also interesting to note that she uses both lines of the fossil Pokemon, which is fun because Grant uses the pre-evolutions, so it gives the Evos a time in the spotlight too. But I think them both being here is a little too much for me. And seeing as Diantha already has a Dragon-type Mon on the team in Goodra, Tyrantrum gets the boot to Drasna's team. So let's start out with Diantha's lead, Hawlucha, who's getting replaced with Furfrou at level 65 with Fur Coat and the moves Return, U-Turn, Sucker Punch, and Charm. Furfrou is a perfect lead for Diantha for many reasons. 1, it hasn't been used on any major battle in the game before. 2, it works narratively as it inherently shows off some of the beauty that Diantha is a part of currently. There's a conversation that she has with Lysander where he asks her what she would do to play the same roles forever, and she responds with this: "What a strange question. Why would I want to play the same old roles forever? Youth may be beautiful, but it's not all there is to life. Everything changes. I want to live and change like that too. So I look forward to playing different roles as I get older." Furfrou here could represent the current role she has and the change that her life will see, as the haircut that Furfrou has could alternate depending on the day or time that you challenge her. Oh, and 3, it works great competitively here, as it's a crazy defensive wall that can debuff the player's attack before switching out with U-Turn into a more ideal matchup. Next up, Diantha will send out Tyrantrum's replacement, Malamar, at level 65, with Contrary and the moves Night Slash, Superpower, Psycho Cut, and Light Screen. This is another great Gen 6 Pokemon that didn't receive any representation here and plays into Diantha's themes, as its Pokemon Shield Pokedex entry states that it's said that Malamar's hypnotic powers played a role in certain history-changing events. I can totally see Diantha using this squid for any historical roles that she might have had in her career so far. I did want to give this Malamar knockoff to get rid of any items the player has on their Pokemon, but that move could only be taught via Move Tutor and Oris. And with the combination of Contrary Superpower, it's going to be a difficult challenge to overcome. Next in, Diantha will still send out her Aurorus at level 65 with Refrigerate and the moves Freeze Dry, Hyper Voice, Earth Power, and Reflect. Freeze Dry here works wonders as a replacement to Thunder, as it's way more accurate and can still hit water type super effectively. And Hyper Voice essentially acts as Ice Beam here with the Refrigerate ability. Earth Power, on the other hand, has taken the other screen slot for some great coverage, which was moved over to Malamar's moveset. Following that up, Diantha will send out her Gourgeist, which I still think is a fun mon for her to use here, but this time at level 66 with Insomnia and the moves Leech Seed, Phantom Force, Seed Bomb, and Shadow Sneak. I did consider exchanging it out for a Trevenant, but I don't know, I just think the little pumpkin guy makes more sense. While I do think Trick or Treat is a fun pick, I really think Leech Seed or some status move of some kind could go a little bit further in terms of usability here. And yeah, I know, Phantom Force is a move that can very easily be manipulated as a 2-turn move, but I think it's a great character pick that also does some decent damage. Plus, Shadow Sneak on top of it always leads to a fun gambling moment, as it could be hard to predict which one the AI will choose. The penultimate Pokemon on Diantha's team is Goodra at level 66 with Sap Sipper and the moves Dragon Pulse, Muddy Water, Flamethrower, and Sludge Wave. And this guy is just the perfect Dragon-type mon for Diantha. It's a goofy design that plays off the Karen vibe that she gives off, and with an improved moveset that improves the accuracy of its moves, focus miss, it's nothing to scoff at either. I know Muddy Water isn't perfectly accurate, but the potential accuracy drop can lead to some scary RNG for the player, so I think it's fine to keep here. And finally, that leaves the last Pokemon on Diantha's team, Gardevoir, who of course is capable of Mega Evolution. And honestly, there isn't a single thing I could think of to improve this set. It's already a super scary opponent to encounter with fantastic coverage. So that means another O-Creation seal of approval. And there we have it, Diantha's new team. I think we did a great job of fixing up the overall theming of our team, while giving a spotlight to some mons that didn't see a lot of action. And for the second item, I gotta give a scope lens to Malamar for some added crit chance on those Night Slashes. So with that, the Fixing Kalos Elite Four video has concluded. If you have any ideas as to how I could further cover each generation, patching up issues with other teams, or even just fixing the Pokemon themselves, let me know in the comments comments below. Just want to say a huge shout out to my channel members. You guys are the absolute best, as always. And with that, I've been O Creations, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye!